The message came at midnight. Sergeant Do-yoon Park was sleeping in his small room at the military base when the alarm started screaming. He jumped out of bed and grabbed his rifle. His hands moved fast. 20 years in the Marines had taught him to be ready in seconds. Outside, the sky was burning red. A massive ship hung above the colony of New Bazan. It was black and covered with sharp edges, like a weapon floating in the air. Smaller ships dropped from it like rain, landing in the forests and mountains around the colony. Park ran to the command center. Other soldiers were already there, their faces pale with fear. On the main screen, a message played on repeat. The voice was deep and cold, like rocks grinding together. Humans of this world, you have been chosen. The hunt begins at dawn. Run if you wish. Hide if you can. It will not matter. You are prey. The room went silent. Park had heard stories about the Vakari. Every soldier had. They were hunters who traveled across the galaxy looking for new species to kill. They believed that eating strong creatures made them stronger. They had destroyed hundreds of worlds. No one had ever beaten them. How many? Park asked. A young officer checked her screen. 600 warriors. Maybe more. Park did the math in his head. He had 200 Marines. The colony had 50,000 civilians, farmers, teachers, children. Can we call for help? They destroyed our communication satellites. The nearest fleet is 3 weeks away. 3 weeks. They would all be dead in 3 days. Park walked to the window and looked at the alien ship. It just floated there, waiting. The Vakari were not attacking yet. They were giving their prey time to panic. Time to run into the wilderness where they could be hunted one by one. Sir? The young officer's voice was shaking. What do we do? Park turned around. Every eye in the room was on him. These soldiers trusted him. These people needed him. We fight, he said simply. Someone laughed. It was a bitter sound. Fight? Against the Vakari? They've never lost. Then we will be the first to beat them. The door opened and a woman walked in. She was small, with short black hair and glasses. Her clothes were dirty with mud and plant matter. Park recognized her. Dr. Unibeek, the colony's xenobiologist. She studied alien life. I heard the broadcast, she said. I need to see everything you have on the Vakari. Doctor, this is a military situation, and I am the only person on this planet who has studied predator species for 15 years. Her voice was calm but firm. The Vakari hunt using patterns. Every predator does. Find the pattern. Find the weakness. Park looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Give her access to everything. While Beak worked, Park organized his soldiers. He sent scouts to watch the alien landing sites. He moved civilians into the underground bunkers that miners had dug decades ago. He placed his best shooters on the rooftops. A young private approached him. Her name was Jizu Han. She was 22 years old, fresh from training. This was her first real deployment. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were steady. Sergeant, I want to help. Tell me what to do. Park studied her. He saw fear, yes, but he also saw something else. Determination. Stay close to me, he said. Watch and learn. When the time comes, you will know what to do. Dawn came slowly. The red sky turned orange, then yellow. The alien ship still waited above them like a hungry animal. Then the Vakari came. Park watched them through his scope. They were huge, nearly 3 meters tall. Their skin was covered with gray scales like armor. Their eyes glowed yellow in the morning light. They moved on 2 legs, but bent forward like wolves ready to pounce. Each one carried weapons that hummed with energy. They walked toward the colony in a straight line. 20 of them. A scouting party. They were not hiding. They were not being careful. Why would they? They were the hunters. Humans were just prey. That was their first mistake. "Hold fire," Park whispered into his radio. "Let them come closer." The Vrikari entered the main street. They looked around at the empty buildings. One of them made a sound like laughter. "Now," Park said, the world exploded. Gunfire erupted from every rooftop. Grenades flew from hidden positions. The first wave of Vrikari fell before they could even raise their weapons. The survivors tried to fight back. They fired their plasma guns at the buildings. But the humans were already moving, running through paths they had prepared, appearing at new positions and firing again. In 3 minutes, it was over. 23 Vrikari lay dead in the street. Park walked among the bodies. His soldiers gathered around him, staring at what they had done. No one spoke. Then Private Jizuhan started laughing. It was not a happy sound. It was relief. It was disbelief. "We killed them," she whispered. "We actually killed them." Park looked up at the alien ship. He knew this was just the beginning. The Vrikari would send more warriors. They would be angry now. They would be more careful. But something had changed. The humans of New Bizen had drawn first blood. They had proven that the Vrikari could die. Far above, in the command chamber of the hunting ship, Warlord Kassath watched the footage of his warriors dying. He had led hunts for 200 years. He had killed millions of creatures across dozens of worlds. He had never seen prey fight like this. A slow smile spread across his face. His sharp teeth gleamed in the dim light. "Interesting," he said softly. "Very interesting." The hunt had just become exciting. Dr. Yuna Beek had not slept in 2 days. Her eyes burned as she stared at the data on her screen. Around her, empty coffee cups formed small mountains. Papers covered every surface of her tiny lab, but she had found it. The pattern. She ran to the command center, pushing past soldiers and civilians. Sergeant Park was there, studying maps with his officers. Dark circles hung under his eyes. Blood stained his uniform from carrying wounded soldiers. "I know how they hunt," Beek said. Everyone stopped and looked at her. She spread her papers across the table. "The Vrikari follow the same pattern every time. They hunt from high ground. They surround their prey. They push them toward open areas where they cannot hide. They have done this on every world they attacked." Park frowned. "So they are predictable. More than that, they are rigid. Their hunting methods are part of their religion. They believe changing tactics shows weakness." Beek tapped the map. "They will attack from these 3 hills tomorrow. I am certain of it." Captain Tai Wu Choi, the colony's civilian leader, stepped forward. He was a thin man with gray hair. Before the invasion, he had spent his days managing farming schedules and solving arguments between neighbors. Now he looked 10 years older. "Can we use this?" he asked. "Can we really beat them?" Park studied the map. His mind was already working. "We can do more than beat them. We can trap them." He called for Mireille Seo, the colony's best engineer. She arrived covered in grease and dust. Her workshop had become a weapons factory. In 2 days, she had turned farming equipment into bombs and mining tools into traps. "Can you rig explosives in these tunnels?" Park pointed to the old mining shafts on the map. Mira, he studied the locations. "Yes, but I need time. You have until tomorrow night. Then I better start now." She grabbed the maps and ran. Park turned to Captain Choi. "I need the civilians organized. Communication runners. Supply carriers. Medical teams." Choi nodded slowly. "You want them to fight. I want them to survive. And survival means everyone works together." The next day, the Vrikari attacked exactly as Beek predicted. 200 warriors marched from the northern hills, their weapons ready, their confidence absolute. They walked straight into hell. Explosions tore through their ranks. Hidden shooters fired from positions the Vakari could not see. When the aliens tried to retreat, they found the paths blocked by collapsed tunnels. Myreseo had buried the escape routes. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 80 Vakari were dead. The humans lost 12 soldiers. On the hunting ship, Warlord Cassith smashed his fist against the wall. His officers stepped back in fear. How? He roared. How do Prey do this? No one answered. No one dared. Cassith forced himself to calm down. He had lived for centuries. He had faced challenges before. These humans were clever, yes, but they were still weak, still soft, still mortal. He changed his approach. No more ritual patterns. No more sacred traditions. He would crush these creatures with raw force. He called in air support. The next attack came with flying ships that rained fire on the colony. Buildings burned. People screamed. The underground bunkers shook as bombs exploded above. But the humans adapted. Park split his forces into small groups. They moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. They attacked at night when the Vakari's thermal vision was confused by the hot wreckage. They set false camps to draw fire away from real positions. Dr. Beek discovered that the Vakari communicated using chemical signals, special smells they released into the air. She worked with the colony's farmers to create a mixture from local plants that blocked these signals. Suddenly, the Vakari could not coordinate. Their hunting parties got lost. Their attacks became confused. Myreseo captured a crashed alien ship. In 6 hours, she had figured out how its weapons worked. By morning, humans were firing plasma guns at their enemies. The colonists changed too. Park watched it happen day by day. People who had never held weapons learned to shoot. Old Myers used their knowledge of the land to create ambush points. Teachers organized the children in the bunkers, keeping them calm while the world shook above. A farmer named Dongwu came to Park one night. He was 60 years old, with rough hands and a quiet voice. I was born on this world, Dongwu said. My children were born here. I will not let these monsters take it. He picked up a rifle and joined the fighters' dot by the end of the week. Cassith had lost half his warriors. His officers whispered among themselves. They had never seen anything like this. Some said the humans were cursed. Others said they were demons wearing soft skin. Cassith killed 3 of his own officers for spraying fear, but even he could not ignore the truth. These prey were not running. They were not hiding. They were hunting back. In the command center, Private Jisoo Han approached Sergeant Park. She had changed in the past week. The fear in her eyes had been replaced by something harder. Sergeant, I have an idea, she said. A way to hurt them badly. Park listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. It is dangerous, he said finally. I know. You could die. Jisoo lifted her chin. Then I die fighting. That is better than dying as prey. Park looked at this young woman who had been shaking with fear just days ago. She had found something inside herself. Something unbreakable. Tell me your plan again, he said. Slowly. Far above, on the hunting ship, Cassith received a message from the Vakari homeworld. The elders were watching. They were concerned. A minor species should not be capable of such resistance. He had 2 days to end the hunt, or he would be recalled in shame. Cassith stared at the colony below. His yellow eyes burned with hatred. Prepare all warriors, he ordered. We end this tomorrow. Every hunter, every weapon, full assault. He would drown these humans in blood, even if it cost him everything. The night before the final battle was quiet. Too quiet. Sergeant Park stood on a rooftop and watched the alien ship. Its lights pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Tomorrow, everything inside that ship would come down to kill them. Dr. Beak found him there. She climbed up the ladder and stood beside him. Neither spoke for a while. "I found something," she finally said. Her voice was strange, angry and sad at the same time. She handed him a data tablet. Park read it slowly. His face did not change, but his hands tightened around the device. "They want our genes," he said flatly. Beak nodded. "The Vrekari do not just hunt for sport. They collect genetic material from strong species. They found something special in humans. Our ability to keep fighting when everything seems lost. Our refusal to give up even when we are broken." Park laughed. It was a cold sound. "They want to steal what makes us human." "Yes." He handed the tablet back. "Then we make sure they never get it." Across the colony, people prepared for tomorrow. Soldiers checked their weapons. Civilians stacked supplies. Children were moved to the deepest bunkers. Private Jisoo Han sat alone in a dark room. She was cleaning her rifle when Sergeant Park found her. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes." Her hands were steady now. "I know what I have to do. You do not have to do this. I can find someone else." Jisoo looked up at him. "You told me once that when the time comes, I would know what to do." "Well, the time has come. And I know." Park sat down beside her. For a moment, he was not a sergeant. Just a tired man who had seen too much death. "I was scared once," he said quietly. "During my first battle. I thought I would die. I thought everyone I loved would die. What changed? I realized that fear is not weakness. Fear means you have something to lose. Something worth fighting for." He put his hand on her shoulder. "You have become a true warrior, Jisoo. Your family would be proud." Her eyes grew wet, but she did not cry. "Thank you, Sergeant." Dawn came like blood spreading across the sky. The Vrekari descended in waves. Every warrior, every ship, every weapon they had. The sky turned dark with their numbers. Kass Oath led them himself. His massive form crashed through the colony gates. His plasma sword cut through walls like paper. He wanted human blood on his hands. The battle was chaos, explosions everywhere. Screams mixing with alien roars. Buildings falling. Fire spreading. Park fought in the front lines. His rifle never stopped firing. When he ran out of bullets, he used his knife. When his knife broke, he used his hands. Around him, his soldiers fell one by one, but they kept fighting. Captain Taiwu Choi had never held a weapon before the invasion. Now he stood at a barricade, firing at the monsters that came for his people. A Vrekari warrior broke through. Choi shot it in the face. His hands were shaking badly, but he did not run. Raeco waited until the largest group of Vrekari entered the old mining area. Then she pressed a button. The ground itself swallowed them. 200 warriors disappeared into the earth. The tunnel she had rigged collapsed perfectly, but more Vrekari kept coming. Jisoo Han ran through the chaos. Her mission was simple. She had to reach the communication tower. She had to send a signal that would jam all Vrekari equipment for 15 minutes. 15 minutes without their technology. 15 minutes fighting as equals. She dodged plasma fire. She crawled through burning buildings. A Vrekari spotted her and gave chase. She led it into an alley where 3 miners were waiting with pickaxes. She did not look back at the sounds. The tower was ahead. Just 50 meters. She could see it. A plasma bolt hit her leg. Jisoo fell hard. Pain exploded through her body. She looked down and saw blood. Lots of blood. A Vrekari stood over her. It was young, eager for its first kill. It raised its weapon slowly, wanting to enjoy the moment. Jisoo pulled her pistol and shot it through the throat. The alien fell. She crawled over its body, dragging her ruined leg behind her. The tower was close. So close, she pulled herself up the ladder one hand at a time. Blood left a trail behind her. Her vision was going dark at the edges. The control panel was there. Just 3 buttons. She pressed them. A high-pitched sound exploded across the battlefield. Every Vrekari weapon went dead. Their communication devices turned to static. Their armor systems failed. For 15 minutes, they were just flesh and blood. The humans did not waste a second. Park led a charge that broke through the Vrekari center. Farmers with axes fought beside soldiers with guns. Teachers threw homemade bombs. Even the old and the young did their part, throwing rocks and creating distractions. The Vrekari, confused and frightened without their technology, began to fall apart. Back at the tower, Jisoo slumped against the wall. She had done it. Her mission was complete. A young boy found her there. His name was Hyunsu, a teenager who had lost his family in the first attack. He had been working as a scout, running messages between groups. "Help me," Jisoo whispered. "I need to get back." Hyunsu looked at her leg. "You cannot walk, then carry me." He was small, and she was not light. But he lifted her anyway. Step by painful step, he carried her away from the tower as it burned behind them. "You are brave," she told him. "I learned from watching you," he replied, "on the main battlefield." Kaseth saw his warriors dying. His technology was gone. His plans were failing. His sacred hunt was becoming a disaster. He roared in fury and charged toward the human lines. If he was going to lose, he would take as many prey with him as possible. Sergeant Park saw him coming. The massive warlord, the leader of the Hunt. Park stepped forward to meet him. The final battle was about to begin. Warlord Kaseth was a mountain of muscle and hate. He stood nearly 3 meters tall. His gray scales were scarred from 200 years of hunting. His yellow eyes burned with fury as he watched his warriors die around him. And in front of him stood a single human, small, bleeding, armed with nothing but a tongue, knife. Sergeant Doyen. Park looked up at the monster and did not move. "You," Kaseth growled. His voice was like thunder. "You are the one who leads them. Yes, you have cost me many warriors. Good hunters, brothers." Park's grip tightened on his knife. It was old, passed down from his grandfather. The blade was short, barely 20 centimeters. Against the warlord's massive plasma sword, it looked like a toy. "They came to kill my people," Park said simply. "I stopped them." Kaseth laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Stopped? You have delayed. Nothing more. Even if you kill me, more will come. The Vrekari are endless. You cannot fight a whole species. Watch me." Kaseth moved. He was fast, impossibly fast for something so large. His plasma sword cut through the air where Park had been standing. Park rolled away, feeling the heat of the blade pass inches from his face. He came up slashing. His knife scraped across Kaseth's leg, drawing a thin line of dark blood. The warlord did not even flinch. "Weak," Kaseth said. He swung again. Park barely dodged. The blade caught his shoulder, burning through armor and flesh. He grunted in pain but did not scream. Around them, the battle continued. Humans and Vrekari fought in the burning streets. Bodies lay everywhere. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of blood. But for Park and Kaseth, the world had become very small. Just 2 warriors. One fight. Everything else faded away. Kaseth attacked again and again. Each swing was meant to kill. Each swing came closer. Park was faster, but he was also tired. Days of fighting without rest. Wounds that had never healed. His body was failing him. A blow caught his ribs. He heard something crack. Pain flooded through him like fire. He fell. Cassius stood over him, plasma sword raised. You fought well for prey. I will remember you when I eat your heart. Park looked up at the monster. Blood dripped into his eyes. His chest screamed with every breath. He thought about his soldiers who had trusted him, the civilians who had believed in him, the children hiding in the bunkers below. He thought about giving up Dot, then he thought about Jisoo Han, crawling through fire with a broken leg to complete her mission. About Taiwu Choi, a man who had never held a gun, standing at the barricades. About Mairaiseo, working without sleep to give them weapons. About Hyunsu, a boy who had lost everything but still chose to help others. If they had not given up, neither would. Park's hand found a rock. Small, sharp, covered in dust. He threw it at Cassius' face, thought it was nothing. A tiny stone against an armored giant. But it hit the warlord's eye. Cassius roared and stumbled back. Just for a second. Just long enough Dot Park was on his feet. He did not know where the strength came from. He did not care. He moved. His knife found the gap between Cassius' neck scales. The blade was too short to reach anything vital. So Park pushed harder. He put everything into it. Every year of training. Every friend he had lost. Every drop of rage in his broken body. The knife went in. Deeper, deeper still. Cassius tried to grab him. Those massive hands that had killed thousands of creatures. But Park held on. He twisted the blade. He felt hot blood pour over his hands. The warlord's roar became a gurgle. They fell together. Park landed on top, still holding the knife. He did not let go until Cassius stopped moving. For a long moment, Park just lay there. The sounds of battle seemed far away. His body felt like it belonged to someone else. Then hands were lifting him. Human hands. Friendly voices were calling his name. He opened his eyes and saw Dr. Beak. Her face was dirty and tired, but she was smiling. You did it, she whispered. The warlord is dead. Park looked around. The Vrakari were running. Without their leader, without their technology, they were just frightened animals now. Human fighters chased them through the streets. The hunters had become the hunted. The ship, Park managed to say. They will escape. No. Beak pointed at the sky. The massive Vrakari vessel was burning. Mairaiseo had saved one last surprise. A bomb hidden in a captured ship that she had let the Vrakari recover. It had exploded inside their hangar bay. The great hunting ship fell from the sky and crashed into the mountains beyond the colony. The explosion lit up the horizon like a second sunrise. Park watched it burn. Then his eyes closed and darkness took him. He woke up 3 days later in a medical tent. His body was wrapped in bandages. Machines beeped softly around him. Jisoo Han was sitting beside his bed. Her leg was in a metal brace, but she was alive. She was reading a book when she noticed him looking at her. Sergeant, she said, her voice cracking. You are awake. How many? Park asked. His voice was rough and weak. Jisoo understood what he meant. 42 soldiers dead. 103 civilians. The bunkers held. The children are safe. Park closed his eyes. 145 people. Faces flashed through his mind. Friends, comrades, people who had trusted him, but 50,000 had survived. The colony still stood. The Vrakari? He asked. All dead or captured. We found a few hiding in the forests. The colonists brought them back. Jisoo paused. They were begging for mercy. Park did not know how to feel about that. These creatures had come to hunt his people like animals. Now they were the ones begging. What did we do with them? Captain Choi locked them in the old prison building. He said we will decide together what happens to them. Jisoo looked at her hands. Some people want them dead. Others say we should be better than that. Park thought about Cassius's words. More will come. The Vrekari are endless. Let them live, he said finally. Send them back to their people. Let them tell stories about what happened here. Let the whole galaxy know what happens when you hunt humans. Jisoo nodded slowly. I will tell Captain Choi. She stood to leave, then stopped. Sergeant, thank you for everything. Park managed a weak smile. You saved us, Jisoo. That signal you sent changed everything. I just pressed some buttons. You killed the warlord. We all killed him. Every single person on this colony. Together. Jisoo left. Park lay in the silence, listening to the machines. Outside, he could hear voices. People rebuilding. People living. They had survived. Against all odds, against an enemy that had never lost, they had survived. Now the real work would begin. 3 weeks after the battle, the Galactic Union fleet arrived. Their ships filled the sky above New Bizen. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species. They had come expecting to collect human bodies. They had come to document another Vrekari victory. Instead, they found the colony still standing. Humans walking through the streets. Children playing in rebuilt parks dot, and 600 Vrekari warriors dead. Admiral Torvik was the first to land. He was a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms. He had served in the Galactic Union Navy for 80 years. He thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. Sergeant Do-yoon Park met him at the landing zone. Park still walked with a limp. His arm was in a sling, but he stood straight and proud. Admiral, Park said, welcome to New Bizen. Torvik looked around. His eyes were wide with shock. This is impossible. The Vrekari brought 600 hunters. Their best warriors. They did. And you had how many soldiers? 200 Marines. 50,000 civilians. Torvik was silent for a long moment. Show me, he finally said. Park took him on a tour of the colony. He showed him the kill zones where the first Vrekari had died. The collapsed tunnels that had swallowed 200 hunters. The tower where Jisoo Han had nearly bled to death, sending her signal. He showed him the place where Kassath had fallen. We recovered the body, Park said. Or what was left of it? Torvik stared at the blood-stained ground. Kassath was legendary among the Vrekari. He had hunted for 200 years. He was undefeated. He's defeated now. The Galactic Union called a meeting. Representatives from every major species gathered in the colony's damaged town hall. They sat in chairs designed for human bodies, looking uncomfortable and amazed. Dr. Unibeek presented the evidence. Video footage from human cameras and recovered Vrekari devices. Medical reports showing the Vrekari's true purpose. Strategic analysis of how 200 soldiers had destroyed 600 elite hunters. The representatives listened in silence. When Beek finished, an older Vrekari stood. He was their ambassador, sent to observe the aftermath. His face was unreadable. These claims are impossible, he said. Humans are a minor species, weak, primitive. They cannot defeat our hunters. A voice spoke from the back of the room. They saw us as prey. They were wrong. Everyone turned. Jisoo Han stood in the doorway. She was in a wheelchair, her legs still healing. Yumsu pushed her forward through the crowd. We are the species that looked at wolves and decided to make them our pets, Jisoo said. Her voice was calm but strong. We are the species that saw the dark and invented fire. We climbed out of the mud and reached for the stars. We do not run. We do not break. She stopped her wheelchair in front of the Vrekari ambassador. Your hunters came to our world expecting easy prey. They found something else. They found humans. And when something threatens our home, we do not stop until it is destroyed, or we are. The Vrekari ambassador looked down at this small, broken human. His hands were shaking. Not with anger, with fear. He turned and walked out of the meeting without another word. The Galactic Union made several decisions that day. They declared New Bizen a protected world. They issued warnings to all predator species about attacking human colonies. They began discussing trade, agreements, and alliance treaties. But the most important decision came from the Vrikari homeworld itself. 3 days later, the Vrikari elders issued a proclamation. Humanity was declared Kethvaros. The words were ancient, almost forgotten. They meant those who should not be pursued. In 200,000 years of hunting, only 3 species had ever earned that title. Humans were the 4th. Months passed. New Bizen rebuilt itself. The scars of battle slowly faded. New buildings rose where old ones had fallen. Gardens grew over the kill zones. Sergeant Park retired from the military. His injuries were too severe for active duty. But he did not leave the colony. He bought a small house on the edge of town, near the memorial for the fallen. 145 names were carved in black stone. Park visited every day. He brought flowers. He talked to them. He told them about the colony's recovery, about the peace they had earned with their blood. Dr. Beek's research became famous across the galaxy. Her analysis of the battle was required reading at every military academy. Species that had never paid attention to humans suddenly wanted to learn everything about them. Captain Choi returned to civilian leadership. He was quieter now, harder, but he was also kinder. He had seen what ordinary people could do when pushed to their limits. He never forgot. Myresio received offers from 12 galactic weapons companies. She turned them all down. Instead, she started a school for young engineers in New Bizen. Her students learned to build things that helped people, not destroyed them. Yunsu grew up to become a pilot. He flew cargo ships between star systems, carrying supplies to distant colonies. Sometimes he would see Vrikari ships in space. They always turned and went the other way, and Jisuhan became a sergeant herself. Years later, when young recruits asked her about the hunt of New Bizen, she would sit them down and tell them the story. Not about heroes or legends, about ordinary people who refused to accept death. She would end with the same words every time. We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We are not the oldest or the wisest. But we are humans. And when the hunters came, they learned the truth about us. She would lean forward, her eyes hard and bright. They saw us as prey. But when the battle was over, we saw them fallen. And that is why the galaxy learned to respect us. Not because we are powerful, because we are stubborn, because we never give up, because we would rather die fighting than live on our knees. The young soldiers would listen in silence. Then they would stand a little straighter, walk a little prouder, because they knew the truth now. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not with ships or weapons or technology, with something simpler, something harder to kill. The refusal to fall. The end.